What up, y'all? We are here for WWT Live. We're going to be talking about Ric Flair's possibly new biopic and WWE 2K4 and all the new things that are coming along with it coming up next.
What's up, guys? It's your girl, Red Velvet, from straight out of your mama's kitchen, doing what I do best, stirring it up, and you are now watching Women's Wrestling Talk.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
My bad, y'all. I was trying something new. What's up? TK Trinity here for Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. WWT Live, the Wednesday edition. And man, we got another packed house. She's in the building. She's back for more. Honey's in the building. What's good? What's good? How are you doing?
You already know I am great. Just another day closer to Elimination Chamber, which is another day closer to WrestleMania.
It's so funny. It's like, how can you tell a wrestling fan when they're wrestling fans? They don't count towards the weekend. They count towards the pay-per-view.
Yes. Screw the weekend.
Screw the weekend. You don't sleep. You don't sleep. You go by, like mid-year. Okay, we're doing WrestleMania, SummerSlam. Yes. You're going by that. But he is praying for people and taking names as well.
Go forward. Go forward.
The professor is in the building. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, TK?
I am good. Actually, we have now that I just remember, we have to have a side conversation because there's funny things in my personal life that I shared.
Okay. I'm here for
Story time.
Stories, yo.
Yes. Story time with TK.
Tell half the stories of the LA shenanigans. Like, I don't know if people will be arrested, but I don't know if it'll be comical. It's just life. It's just life. But shout out to Cousin Ron in the chat. I'll leave it there. But what we got today? What we working with?
Well, strangely enough, and I think it's kind of poetic justice, when we ended the show Monday, one of the last things we talked about were some of the ratings for WWE's 2K24 game. And people were a little upset, and rightfully so, that Gunther and Logan Paul were both rated the exact same. Well, now we can at the very least tell you who's going to be in the game, as the full roster has been announced and confirmed. And there's a lot of people. Let's just say that. A lot of people. What they have done, which I think is kind of neat, is they've kind of divided it up into legends and alumni. And then there's a section for people on Raw, for people on SmackDown, for people on NXT, and for managers. So there are lots of people in this game. And when I say a lot, I mean, like, if I read through the list, it'd probably exhaust you. So I'll give you a couple of highlights on the managerial side. And I think this is very interesting. So you have everyone from current managers like BFAB, she's in the game, to Bobby the Brain Heenan, who I think is pretty awesome. Of course, the wise man, Paul Heyman, is in the game. Miss Elizabeth is in the game, and I'm not sure how many games she's actually been in, but that's kind of cool. Mick Foley is in. He usually makes it. Kathy Kelly is in. Why she's in under a manager, I don't know, but she's in the game, as is Theodore R. Long and the late, great Paul Bearer. They're in. Now, in terms of alumni and legends, there's a lot of them. So naturally, if you have Miss Elizabeth, of course, you're going to have the Macho Man, Randy Savage. He's in there. Ravishing Rick Rude, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Andre the Giant, who is, that kind of makes sense, as superstar Billy Graham. That's one you don't see very often. the late great Bray Wyatt is in the game, which I think is really awesome. China is in, Dusty Rhodes is in, Eric Bischoff is in, Harley Race is in. That's another name you don't see very often. Jake the Snake. Yeah, there's a lot of people here. Muhammad Ali is in the game, which is interesting, as is Ronda Rousey. Stardust is in the game. That's also.
I wonder with like the Ronda Rousey and even the Muhammad Ali of it all, right? Because it's the person's likeness. Like what that, like I'm assuming you're gonna have to ask their permission.
Oh, sure.
So
sure.
what that, well, one, I mean, we'll never find out. Shout out to Eddie and JD in the chat. But what does that conversation look like? Because it sounds like Ronda Rousey, like when she left WWE, it was just kind of it was like an amicable split. But I think in the last like article or something that she did, it was just kind of like a laissez-faire type thing. So I wonder if there's more of a money thing, like, all right, whatever, or it's something that she like wanted. Like, I'm kind of curious with that.
Well, I think they're obviously on decent enough terms to want her to be in the game. And I'm sure, you know, when you start dealing with these alumni and legends like a Muhammad Ali, for instance, like I know I have another WWE mobile game that I play regularly. And when they get these characters that are in the game that don't normally come under WWE license, then those other people who they had to get permission from, they are credited as well. So I'm sure Muhammad Ali's camp, Macho Man's camp, because WWE doesn't own the trademark to Macho Man. Like, so those particular camps had to have buy-in to be a part of the game, which I think is cool that they were able to get some of those folks. Side note, Uncle Howdy is in the game. So I have an appreciation for, again, all of these people. And again, those were just some of the legends and the Fiend. So it feels like all of the incarnations of Bray Wyatt have made their way to the game, which I just think is pretty amazing. And again, pretty much all of your current stars on the WWE product are in the game. I'm equally impressed to see how deep the NXT roster runs in this game, because it's pretty deep. I mean, you've got everybody from, you know, kind of your standouts like a Braun Breaker, Baron Corbin, Brooks Jensen, Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams. They're all in. But then you have some people you probably didn't expect to see in there, like Damon Kemp. He's in there. Ivy Nile is in there. Joe Gacy is in there. Josh Briggs, Noam Dar, Scripps, Thea Hale. So there's a lot of people, and Wendy Chu, who we've not seen in ages. So there's a lot of people in this WWE 2K24 game that will fully be released on March the 8th. There's a deluxe and icon edition that will be available on March the 5th.
Yeah. As somebody who doesn't play video games, who ironically, like I mentioned to two of you guys before the conversation I had with Monday, I am now going to be entering the video game space. So there's going to be some things, some possible things. Yeah, some possible things coming up, some partnerships. I was convinced over dinner that I need to enter this space. So we'll
it's cooking.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's
it's pretty lucrative.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah. Special nobody is saying, is Wendy injured?
Yes. That's why she's been out. You may not remember because it happened so long ago. She was another one of those injuries that happened either in the NXT parking lot or the NXT training room. Like, she was amongst
dangerous places.
Very dangerous places. So yeah, I'm not sure when she's due back, but she is injured.
I want to re-acknowledge Muhammad Ali and the fact that they put him in this game and gave him that respect, only because he was the referee at WrestleMania 1.
Yes,
and he was there for the very first one. So it only makes sense to pay tribute to him for the WrestleMania 40 edition. Like I can only imagine how far that roster goes. I haven't actually looked at it, but I'm looking it up right now. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. And you can play as Post Malone, apparently, since he was also the
Yeah,
Executive producer of the soundtrack.
He's gonna be in a later edition of the game. Bad Bunny will be in the first release for this one, but Post Malone is coming.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Bad Bunny, nice.
So there it is. What else we got next?
Well, we mentioned injury, so now's probably a good segue to an injury that we officially found out about yesterday. If you guys watched NXT, you actually saw when it happened. The main event last night for NXT was scheduled to be Shotzi getting a shot at the NXT Women's Championship against Lyra Valkyria. During the match, when she, jumped on the outside of the ring, she landed in a really weird way. And she told the world that she has torn her ACL. And in tearing that ACL, it's looking like she's going to be out at least until 9 months, or for 9 months. So it's difficult. She was very vocal on the socials in terms of kind of the toll this had been taking on her mental health. But then she also ended her post by saying she's actually very excited to kind of work through all of those things. She has confirmed that the surgery did go well, and she is on the road to recovery. So certainly our thoughts and prayers and best wishes go out to Shotzi for a speedy recovery.
Yeah, these injuries are never, especially when you're like at the peak of your, where you are physically, like the injuries, like nobody really talks about it, but like on the mental, because you're used to being like at this level, and now like your body's like, yeah, no, we ain't doing this right now, and that's like you want to kind of rush the process. So it's a fine balance to kind of getting back to that level, and then not re-injuring and stuff like that. So definitely, I know WWE has definitely stepped up their game as far as taking injuries very seriously, and allowing for the time, because you don't want those re-injuries. You don't want superstars or athletes taking medications in order to get them there faster. So it's never a great time to get injured, but it's a good era to be injured versus 10-15 years ago.
I think it just really stinks, because I feel like every week we're sending out thoughts and prayers to another injury, another person getting injured. It's really I'm not blaming anybody, because there's nobody to blame. Accidents happen. These things happen all the time. But it just seems to be happening more frequently, and it happens always to the ones that are literally about to make a little bounce back or gain some momentum. And it just, whatever it is that is in their whatever it is that's in their routine, I guess they're just gonna have. I guess it's just more strengthening now, because like with torn ACLs and things like that, you have to strengthen your body for that, to prepare it and everything like that. So, I mean, wish Shotzi all the best and everything, but I hate to see it. She's still young, she's still fresh, she's still got a lot going for her. And I like another one like Nikita Lyons, where I feel like they haven't even scratched or the surface with her yet, or even touched anything with her yet. Right. And I thought that by now we'd see her with at least one chip or a tag team chip or something by now. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree with you, because it kind of feels like she's been there for a minute, but then also she's kind of still new. It's a weird spot that she's coming in. And for those who don't know, she had a whole indie career before. It wasn't like she came off through NXT, but she had an indie career before that. So it's kind of it's a really interesting spot that she's in right now.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's also a great reminder to people that this is very much a sport. Yes. And in sports, injuries do happen. And the craziest part is injuries can happen in the most unpredictable of ways. I mean, this injury, she wasn't trying some incredible move. She wasn't leaping off the top rope. It was literally jumping from the apron to the floor and landed wrong. And, to your point, TK, shout out to WWE's medical team, who swooped in immediately, and they really did try to assess things very, very quickly. And shout out to NXT for having a quick plan, to kind of figure out, how do we finish this? Because that was the part where I was like, wait, so what are we going to do here?
Yeah, I'm
And
surprised
they
that
came up.
didn't get leaked.
I'm surprised that didn't get leaked either. But I am interested in what you guys think of what their alternative plan was, and did it help or hurt anybody with how that ended? For those who don't know, when Shotzi got injured last night, Ava comes out and says, "We promised you a women's title match." The first person that walks through the door gets the shot. It's Lash Legend who gets the shot. And the match ends, of course, with Lyra Valkyria retaining the title. Was that a good audible to call? Did anybody get injured in the audible, etc.?
Well, I love the fact that because y'all know I'm kind of like, I feel like I discover people, which I really don't. But I have a very I'm very akin to Roxy because we interviewed her before, like NXT, ROH, all this stuff. So I love the way it's almost like looking at like a little sister, right? So it's just like I love the way how she's like coming out the shower and she's like, and I kind of feel that because like it wasn't even like you know how you might miss certain opportunities or miss certain text messages because you're so inundated with stuff, but it wasn't like it was that like it was a mishap on your part. She was literally just taking a shower and she missed the opportunity, and I kind of felt for her, and I love how they played that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's because I was wondering, okay, when Ava did say that, okay, well the locker room is stacked. Like I felt like 5 or 6 women were gonna come running out for this opportunity. So it was just interesting how they played that. But I also like a good storyline on the subline to it with the girls watching and Roxy coming out and she's being. I think we're seeing that slow transition of Roxy becoming a heel, which is going to be really interesting as well. Wait, what?
Wow.
You know what, JD?
Oh my God.
JD, I don't even know what the title is. JD said, TK discovered me once. I now belong to my parents.
I
Wow.
can't. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I think it was the best alternative that they could do in that time span. But also I feel like I'm always one not to make big decisions based off of emotions. So that was kind of the best thing that they could have done, because if they did anything else, it might change the whole trajectory of what the storyline was supposed to be. Right. And I mean, I don't think even if Shotzi didn't get injured, I don't think she was gonna win. Right. I don't think so. I mean, I might be wrong. We'll see what the dirt sheets say. But I don't think that would have changed anything much. I think it would have just been a really great match. So I think they just want to kind of keep it as is to maintain whatever the trajectory for that story is. So I was for it.
I was a little torn for Roxanne, I'm not gonna lie. But things happen. I was not expecting Lash Legend. I will say I wasn't expecting Lash Legend. I was expecting a little bit of something maybe with a twist if they were thinking on their feet. I was thinking maybe Tatum Paxley, just to juice it up a little bit, being that she's been chasing like Lyra around a little bit, on her Mickey James-esque following around Trish Stratus kind of thing, So I was hoping for that, but well done to thinking on their feet with NXT. And Lyra Valkyria, I was assuming she was going to keep that belt anyway. So I mean, honestly, I don't see who's going to be up next yet, kind of, unless it's Roxanne. So, yeah. But yeah, that heel transition is definitely happening though. And it's happening really good. They're really like, by Stand and Deliver, she's going to be.
Oh yeah. She's going to be full blown by then. And she's going to do something really dastardly, which I think should be fun.
Yeah, it should be on the level of like Dakota Kai.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I just was not a fan of how that match ended. I wasn't a fan of that. And I'm hoping is that, down the line, people will forget that exchange actually happened, because I felt like, going into NXT Deadline, Lash Legend was really starting to cook. She really, really was. I feel like the momentum has died off a little, not a lot, but a little, She had a win last night, which I thought was good to kind of get her back on track. I just felt like the way the match ended felt abrupt. Like that splash off the top rope wasn't special. And it wasn't done in a way that it looked like, whoa, this is gonna take her out. So it felt like, hey, the show's about to end, so let's wrap this up. As
Like, hurry up.
opposed, right,
Mhm.
as opposed to I just beat Lash Legend. So I'm hoping that, in the long run, people will kind of forget that this happened, and there will be enough things that Lash can do so that when she gets back to a title shot, they won't remember this because that wasn't it.
Right. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Do you think that, because I agree, there's one, when she slammed Otis, like she was kind of there. Do you think that, or what do you think the game plan for her is? Because it seems like she has the makings of, but it doesn't seem like they know quite what to do with her.
I tend to think that she right now could be the product of an extremely stacked division. Like it feels.
Lyra, are you talking about?
No, I mean
Lash
Last
Lash.
Legend. Sorry.
Like
Last Legend.
I feel like there are so many people who are vying for that top spot right now that where at Deadline, and coming into that, it felt like this was the coming out party for Lash Legend. It feels like we might end up getting more of a slow burn to her, really getting that kind of title shot and title showing that we want to see from her. I mean, because if you think about just the women in the pipeline right now, I mean, they brought Shotzi down. But then it's clear that Roxanne is on the way to getting that title shot again. And whoever else, there just seems like there's a lot of strong female contenders right now for that championship. And so it feels like they might let Lash cook a little bit longer before they really kind of pull the trigger. And then I also wonder, if all that's been going on with Metaphor, if they're going to lean more towards her in the tag team space with Jakara Jackson. That could be the plan, but it definitely feels like they kind of took their foot off the gas with what they had planned for her.
Honey?
Well, y'all gonna hate me for this. I'm not big on Metaphor at all.
Really?
Never have, never was. Honestly, don't see the point of it. Maybe it's just me and I don't get it. But I think that Lash Legend should totally break out and be on her own because she has way too much personality. She has bigger personality than a lot of them together. I think personally, I think they could do a lot more with her being solo than being in the group. Jakari, she still needs a lot of work from me. Noam Dar is just annoying to me, but I think that's his job and he does that on purpose, so it works. It's working. And who else is in there? I forget the other guy's name. Oh God, that's how bad.
That
See,
would be main man Mensa. Oro Mensa.
There you go. See that goes to show you that I'm not big on them at all. But I think it could potentially lead to something else. I think it's about time they split up. Honestly, all of them. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm kind of tired of seeing it.
Wow.
Here's the thing. I feel like, and for my folks who do watch WoW, we do have a WoW post show that happens on Sundays. I think WoW is experiencing the same thing too, meaning that they have 3. Congratulations to Miami Sweet Heat. They won the tag team championships, but they have 3 belts now. They have the singles, the tag team, and the trios. But the women's, I mean, there's only women there. It's so stacked. There's women there that you almost forget, like OGs, like Peter Rush, etc., that have been there for a long time. And I kind of almost wish that they had a hierarchy where you can kind of see the leaderboard. And I feel like that's the same thing with NXT. I think Barry Monkey 99 said the NXT women's division is ridiculously good, all battling to be promoted to the main roster and be badly well, not that part, the last part. The reason I say that is we had an NXT UK where there was a belt there. So do you think, and obviously NXT UK is no longer there. Do you feel like there should be an additional belt because the women's division is so stacked there should be like a secondary belt for the women's division. I mean, obviously for the men's division as well, because the division is so stacked. So we don't I don't know, misplace somebody like the Lash Legend, because
Right.
at the end of the day, if nobody's really talking about her because they forget about her, then that jump to the main roster is not going to be as exciting. You know what I'm saying? So you can't.
Yeah, you don't want to sell her short at the
Right.
same time, but you don't want to make it feel like it's a consolation prize either.
Right.
You know. Yeah, I mean, maybe there should be. I always liked an idea. I always liked the idea of having a women's intercontinental title or a women's North American championship, the same way they have the men's. Or if you want to do two heavyweight belts, I guess, but it's a little difficult to do it with just one show, I think. So
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's something along the lines that they'll figure out. Or I honestly don't know, because it is very stacked in NXT for the women. It's just hard because
So
they're dropping like flies.
I say this very carefully and respectfully. I notice that historically, for the men's divisions in almost every promotion, there's almost automatically your main championship and at least one secondary championship.
Right.
In those same brands, historically, there's usually, if there is a women's championship, that usually comes later than the men's. And then there's usually not a secondary championship. And I think that goes along with this idea that historically women's wrestling has been deemed specialty as opposed to a regular part of wrestling. So I say all of that to say that it is certainly time for there to be a mid-card championship in the WWE for women, be that Raw or SmackDown, probably both, as well as NXT. Now, this is one of those things, for as many think pieces that are out there about AEW, I think this is one of the things AEW has gotten right, where they created a mid-card championship for their women's division early. Hence, in this case, the TBS championship, which, mirrored the TBS championship on the men's side of things. And say what you want, but the TBS championship in the hands of Jade Cargill became more popular and more visible than their AEW Women's World title. I equally think they've done a great thing in this relaunch of Ring of Honor, which will turn a year old, I think, this week or next week, one of the two, is this creation of the Women's Television Championship. Again, a space where I think for all of the think pieces out there who are upset about what Tony Khan has done historically, he's gotten this right. And so I think it is definitely time for other organizations. You can throw Impact in the mix, you can throw WWE in the mix, and whomever else, to be able to say, and you're right, Julia Hart, I think, has done a solid job with the TBS championship, though we don't seem to see her as much now as we did on her way to becoming the TBS champion. But I do think that it's way past time for the WWE to come up with a mid-card championship and handle it well, just like you've handled the Intercontinental Championship and the US title. They don't feel like secondary titles. They feel like, championships that people work hard for. In fact, historically, the Intercontinental title has been called the Workhorse Championship, right? So I think it can be done and it should be done. And with the women's rosters in all of WWE as healthy and as vibrant and as stacked as it's ever been, it's time.
I have another question, and I think you can answer it, Professor, because you watch the product more often. It seems like ROH has way more women matches on it. The reason why I say that now, because I am going to be adding ROH to the budget as far as the monthly stuff and stuff like that. But is that like what it's becoming? And do you think, like, when they had AEW Dark and all that stuff, like, do you think that's just what ROH has now become? And then do you think that's the right move. Like, it's still showcasing women, but it's almost taking away what ROH used to be. Like, it seems like it's becoming just AEW Dark, but just under a different name.
So I want to make sure I understand the question because I felt like it was twofold. So the question is Ring of Honor becoming AEW Dark, or is the question more about the women's piece of it?
Both. It seems
Okay.
like when I see it on social media, way more women's matches, and maybe because I also, my eyes more attuned to that, way more women's matches. And then two, it just seems like when AEW Dark was around, we had way more women's matches. So it essentially seems like it's just AEW Dark, but just under the ROH name.
So yeah, let me try to answer that. Firstly, you totally see more women's matches on Ring of Honor than you do AEW. That's not your imagination. That's definitely factual. What's interesting about that, though, is those matches are far more competitive than the women's matches that we would see on AEW Dark. And so, like, a fatal four-way with Trisha Dora, Queen Aminata, Frost, Lady Frost, and Taya Valkyrie. Like, that's madness. That's madness, right? Like, we're getting those kinds of quality matches for the women's division, strangely enough, more than the men's division in Ring of Honor. It's interesting the direction that Ring of Honor has taken, because historically, Ring of Honor has been known for its great technical wrestling. Interesting take. I feel like AEW is more Ring of Honor than Ring of Honor is.
Huh. Okay.
In terms of, Ring of Honor was known for great technical matches, this kind of fast-paced action, that kind of thing. AEW tends to resemble that historically more than the current iteration of Ring of Honor. In terms of AEW Dark, I don't want to make the comparison, but I think it's also a fair comparison in terms of, there are a lot of matches that are squeezed into the hour and a half, 2 hours of the Ring of Honor broadcast, and more so for the men than the women. For the men, there aren't as many stories that are prevalent for the men than the women. For example, one of the biggest stories right now on Ring of Honor television, of course, is centered around Athena. Nyla Rose is coming after Athena for the women's title. Then you also have the start of the women's TV title tournament. On the men's side, there's literally no talk of the Ring of Honor World Championship, which seems maddening. I mean, after Eddie Kingston goes through this the big tournament and defends the title, keeps the title, the champ is on AEW in New Japan more than he is Ring of Honor, and he's Ring of Honor's world's champion. We haven't seen the TV title on there very much. We haven't seen the tag champs on there very much. So it feels like right now, where we are with Ring of Honor, it's definitely heavier on women's matches, quality women's matches for sure. And the men's side, to a degree, could easily make a comparison to AEW Dark in terms of there not being the compelling storylines that would make you want to keep tuning in. So you tune in now, obviously, to see what's happening with the women. There are multiple women's stories being told right now.
And then also, too, I wanted to shout out, because I did get to watch their show. Super cute. Johnny Loves Taya on YouTube. AEW. Oh my God.
I have to watch that.
It's I encourage everybody to watch it. It's super manageable to watch, meaning that it's a short period of time. It's a nice, like, it's not like an hour. I think it's like 20 minutes or so. It's on YouTube, and it's cute. It's the typical reality, series type style. I've had the pleasure of, meeting Taya and Johnny several times, going to like a random birthday party or something like that. But they're just a super fun couple. And I'll just leave it at this, because I think the episode dropped The second episode dropped today. Last week, she locked Johnny in a storage unit. So you're gonna have to figure out how that all happened. But
Oh
it's
my
super,
God.
super funny. You have to definitely check that out.
That's
Another thing another thing you guys need to check out is our merch.
Hey yo, you. Yeah, you that's watching this. You sitting on the couch staring at the screen not knowing what you want to do like this is an online college. Are you tired of wearing shirts that make you look like an extra stuck in catering? Do you want to step your wrestling swag game up to the next level? Then Women's Wrestling Talk has got you covered. Like literally. Are you for life in pink or black and white? Or maybe you're the EST and people need to respect you accordingly. Want to put some pride in your stride and show off the muscle in your hustle? Then make sure you check out the WWT store. Not now, but right now. Alright? What you waiting for? Head to www.talkpodstore.com and don't make me fight you. Shit. Hey yo, you. Yeah, you that's watching this. You sitting on the couch staring at the screen.
Forgot that loop is still on. Special little nobodies say, nail it on the head, Professor. I've been calling AEW New Japan America, but it actually reminds me more of the good old days of ROH. That's what I like about AEW, the matches.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
you.
So
sir.
yeah,
Appreciate that.
And then it's so funny because shout out to Chris. I think you're new to WWT because once people say TK, I'm like, wait, what did I do? But he's talking about the TK. TK gave the men's division in ROH gave up the men's division in ROH when MJF was ROH tag champion. So there's that too. Yeah, I'm sorry, MD. We trying something new. We're evolving, and I think somebody who's evolving. I guess these days we just come out from the streets when we want, show up, etc.
Just finding a seat. This is actually a street report. This is a legitimate street report.
I'm loving the sunlight. I need some of that over here.
Yeah.
I know it was raining this morning in LA, and now when it's nice and sunny, Sed goes to the streets. So that's just what happens.
I like to believe that when I go outside, the sun decides to shine. I like to believe it to be that way.
Mr. Said, the alleged Parkerville resident. So are you in Parkerville or you got to be in Vice City? You got to be in Vice City.
Oh, if I was in Vice City, I wouldn't be on WWT. You got to understand. You got to understand the differences. Ain't no time to work when you're in Vice City.
Or are you working while you're in Vice City?
Those are PTO days.
It's part of being in the government. Yeah.
Yeah. Get you a government official job.
What we got now?
Wow. Well, speaking of AEW, this has been kind of all the talk on the socials all day long. It started yesterday when O'Shea Jackson Jr., the son, of course, of Ice Cube, a quote of him was floating around the internet where he was talking about the challenges that he has relative to AEW. He was having a conversation with Chris Van Vliet, and in there he talked about how there doesn't seem to be much in the way of inclusivity for AEW fans relative to those who'd like to find out more about the AEW product. And he feels as though their product, AEW, needs to engage viewers with more compelling narratives and tell stories to introduce their wrestlers, as opposed to solely relying on their commentators to give information about these wrestlers during the entrance. Well, one thing we can say about AEW and Tony Khan is they don't have a leader that does not respond to this kind of commentary. So Tony Khan got his phone, hopped onto the Twitter machine, and he said these words. He said, quote, "You might enjoy checking out new experiences and entire worlds of international graps out there. I think learning about them is fun. All wrestling is awesome. I hope you enjoy whatever you like. maybe someday you'll be interested in wider circles. And of course, people have said all kinds of things positively and negatively about Tony Khan's response to O'Shea Jackson Jr. What are your thoughts? I have an interesting thought, but I want to hear what you guys think about this exchange now that happened between O'Shea Jackson Jr. and Tony Khan. And does O'Shea have a point in terms of the way that AEW presents wrestlers? He feels as though, they present wrestlers with the intent that you as a fan already know who they are, when in some cases for newer or fringe fans, you might not.
First, before we do that, shout out to Cousin Ron. Awful take, Baby Q. Baby Q.
Wow.
Baby Q. Accurate.
JD saying Cedric Welton, allegedly Parkerville resident, allegedly doesn't have a watch.
I've been on here several times, and I told you I don't got TK money. I don't know what you want from me. Like I've said that several times on this show.
TK don't even got TK money. I'm just saying.
TK got clones, reupholstered ceilings, trap doors.
Wow, I'm working on
3 phones.
I'm in between the places, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, when you own multiple properties, you can be in between places. Like, I'm still working on number 1. That's like, let me live.
I can't.
I'm
gonna make it easy. I'm gonna make it easy for y'all, and I'm just gonna go first. I agree with O'Shea Jackson Jr. Period, point blank. And TK needs to put his damn phone down, because he's just making me sick with the trigger fingers, like the Twitter fingers. I just can't deal. Like, you do too much. You need a personal assistant to just take that out your hand and be like, nope, we're not doing this. You need to just take criticism. You're a boss for a reason. You own the company for a reason. If you're not, you can't put yourself out there with this product and not think that you're not going to get any critiques back from anybody. These are also people that are watching your product. O'Shea Jackson Jr. is probably a huge fan of AEW, and I don't think anything that the way he said anything was in a way of any way disrespectful. It was just his opinion, and everybody's entitled to it. That's all I was saying.
I actually think that was a very mild response from the fake TK. I'm actually rather impressed. You got to know that he said that to O'Shea Jr. Don't do that to O'Shea Sr. That would have been real bad for him, because he really liked that. But I didn't find anything wrong with what Lil Cube said. I found nothing wrong with it. It was actually very thorough, thought out take, and it wasn't anything wrong. I didn't feel like he was criticizing the product. It's like, hey, if I'm a fan of wrestling, educate me, because I'm not getting enough education on why I should be emotionally invested. We say the same things when you call up NXT superstars at WWE. Which is funny about this, I think we're on the anniversary of when Gargano and Ciampa debuted on the main roster, and that crowd was flat. We knew, like, the main roster audience knew nothing, and if you weren't an NXT diehard, you wouldn't know that they were like the brand for a long time. So like, that speaks volumes of like what they do now, where they give you some backstory on like why this person was important. Like, Michael Cole's been doing amazing, even going outside of the WWE space with telling you like the backstory of a wrestler. It's like, that's all he was saying, is like, tell me about their experiences outside of AEW. Like, what are their crowning accomplishments? Because that makes me get invested in the match. You can't just have a match out of nowhere and quote unquote call it a banger, but like, why was I supposed to care that this happened? Nothing's wrong with that. But again, the fans are the problem. He didn't say the product was a problem. He said the fans are the problem with the way we want to be inclusive to your brand.
So shout out to our IG universe. So we have Esquire in there saying O'Shea is definitely right here. Incorporate the education into the show. I definitely agree. I think the problem is, and this is not just in wrestling, I just think in general, I think the fake TK just saw the clip and he didn't watch the whole interview, because it'd be different if it's somebody who is a sometimes wrestling fan. O'Shea is invested, and meaning that like he's been invested for a long period of time, and he talks about his journey into wrestling and how he's at all the shows and he watches the projects and et cetera, et cetera. And I think his statement was more just kind of like, I want to see everybody do better, and as a wrestling fan, this is how I think AEW would benefit. So I don't think, because the fake TK has multiple jobs and doing a whole bunch of things. I don't think he, no shade to Chris as far as an interviewer and all this stuff. I just don't think he had the time to actually sit down and watch an hour and some change interview. If he did, I don't think he would make that statement. So yeah, I think I'll definitely check out the whole interview. But I think he said it with the best intentions. I don't think he said it with because you do have some people out here who are like, they want AEW to die, essentially. I don't think that was O'Shea's premise at all.
So I want to address. I'm not even addressing MDB because the context of why I got on him about Queen Aminata had nothing to do with whether or not he knew who she was. So I think he likes our banter. That's what I think. I think MDB likes the attention.
He likes it because he wants to be abused by the professor. Teflon
he
G.
likes it. He
comes here for that. He comes for
go forward. Go forward. Go forward. Oh boy. But I want to address this from Cousin Ron. Cousin Ron says, doesn't the commentary usually go over where they've been and what they've done elsewhere? Understanding AEW doesn't have WWE's pockets when it comes to vignettes and the like. So I'm gonna actually disagree on this one.
Come on now.
And here's what I'm saying. Does the commentary team attempt to explain who these people are? Yes, they do. But I think part of the problem is it's very hard if you don't, for instance, the CMLL guys have been there over the last couple of weeks. And I had never seen Hechicero before, but Hechicero is being billed as one of the greatest technical wrestlers to come out of, Mexico in the last decade. So if that is the case, and you're bragging as you introduce him on Wednesday about a marquee match between him and Bryan Danielson on Saturday, the question is how invested are you in educating the fans so that they can be excited about this? So part of the reason it doesn't cost a lot of money to produce a vignette or to produce a sit-down interview or that type of thing. What it does, though, is when you have 9 matches stacked into 2 hours, it is very difficult to kind of have that moment where you can learn about somebody else because you're constantly watching, the same thing in the ring. So where I think they could benefit, for instance, they just did this interview with Queen Aminata. There's that name again. But what they did with this one, which I thought was interesting, was they put it on YouTube instead of putting it on their television show. Impact does this, TNA does this well, WWE does this well. Give us a 3-part interview, that airs 1 part each week. So now I'm learning something about it. I'm learning something. So now I can be invested. I don't know when we're going to see Hechicero again. And granted, he did some things I've never seen before. I've never seen it before. Let me also mention this too. We've talked historically about the differences between who AEW is marketing to and who the WWE is marketing to. Because the WWE is marketing generally to the casual fan, they are putting in more effort to ensure that you have investment with these fans. Isn't it interesting that somebody like a Shinsuke Nakamura, who has been in WWE at this point for 5 or 6 years, they're still having backstage segments with him. And now it's him speaking in Japanese, but we're reading, the subtitles. And it's like, ooh, this is killer. Yeah, this is Shinsuke Nakamura. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think you have to have these palate cleansers in terms of good television for AEW. And again, get us interested in the story and interested in the person. And I think that's, for one, that's what O'Shea was saying. For 2, the fans, and this is kind of the problematic part, he was saying that the fans aren't even assisting in the education process. So if he goes to Twitter and says, who's Hechicero? They're coming back. I can't believe you don't know who Hechicero is. It's like, no, I don't know him, There's that. Now, the last thing I'm going to say quickly is if I were Tony Khan, what I would have done in my response was I would have had an open invitation for O'Shea Jackson on me come check out AEW. Let's sit down and have you talk with, some of our athletes. Let's have you watch this product. Literally, I'm going to give you a front row seat. I'm going to bring you backstage, give you an idea. That's what I would have done, because he's a culture shifter. He's a celebrity who, obviously, you get him on board talking good. It makes sense. That's what I would have done. I would have invited him to enjoy the product and say, instead of saying you know what I mean? Anywhere in the country you want to come, I'll fly you out. Come on out and you're my guest. That's what I would
I'll
do.
fly you and the crew out, name the state, name me your schedule, and I'll even throw in a football game. And like you can see in the box.
Totally.
It's also, just to piggyback off of what Professor said, I totally 100% agree with that, because it's one of the reasons why I personally have trouble watching the product itself, and I just can't get into it, because there's the elements of the other companies where they keep you invested and they tell you the story. They're what a lot of the marks are marking about with this situation is that there's more to storytelling than just telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to telling the story than just saying it on commentary. You see what they're doing with Cody. He has the biggest story in the world, and they didn't even give him half of that in AEW of a story. He built it on. He built. Granted, in the beginning when he was helping start it, and they had the whole sledgehammer to the throne and all of that stuff. There was some story elements there, but it just got lost in the shuffle, and then it just became more about just a lot of talk and a lot of matches, but not any depth and any substance to what was happening visually in front of us. You need a visual as well as the commentary and the story. It's all part of the story. It's what creates it. So yeah, I agree with you 100%, Professor. And O'Shea Jackson Jr.
I want to answer Cousin Ron's last statement. Yeah, so with this, like the context matters. Yes, and I'm gonna butcher this. Yes, I can Google.
Read a statement for people who are listening.
For our audio listeners. Let me get in my sultry voice. I'm not sorry that I dislike people who make posts with a question when they make said post on a device that can answer their question. So yes, that's basically in short saying Google is free. But yeah, I can go Google who Herizato is. I know I probably said that wrong. I can Google that, and Hechicero. I can go Google exactly who that person is and probably look up their accolades, where they've been, where they're going, right. But it doesn't let me know why I should be invested if they're wrestling Daniel Bryan. Why did he get this opportunity? Unless he has an upset win where hey, chill out. Unless he has an upset win over Daniel Bryan, which is highly unlikely. We rarely see people come into the AEW space and defeat the AEW superstars. So it lends me to ask, like, why is this match happening? So that's where the investment part comes in. Just because I can look up who they were, well, who are they in the AEW sphere? And we oftentimes see those people that come in for a quick cup of coffee not being used in important ways.
Mm-hmm.
Our information officer, Bosa, saying, "Oh my God, Seti is bringing out the voice he uses for his sugar mama."
I want to remind everybody that's February 21st. We got 8 days of Black History Month left. I will not tolerate the disrespect.
Is it or is it the truth?
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth completely.
Oh.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth completely.
Delete this, bro. I gotta delete that clip. I keep forgetting. You lucky I ain't got no laptop to delete that clip right now.
I definitely think, the idea of a great TV product is so that you don't have to do the research yourself. The research is, if you want me, here's the thing. And TK, you used to say this all the time. If when somebody is posting something, if they don't post either the direct link to it or the information, I'm not going to go search for it.
Right.
We're in an information age where there are so many things that are pulling at your attention. If I have to go down the rabbit hole to figure out why I should like your product, that is problematic. Now, I'm going to say this, and somebody will probably come for me, but maybe they won't. I don't know. I'm not the biggest movie guy, and I'm not the biggest person in the Marvel universe. So one of the hard things about jumping into the Marvel universe is if I just go to see a random movie, I have to understand all the stuff that happened before, all the stuff that happened after, and the movie isn't designed to necessarily tell. They might give me little hints of this and little hints of that, but usually the people that are into it are the people who can tell you, oh, stay till the end because this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this means this, and it's overwhelming, you know.
Mhm.
So again, if AEW is not going to make room on their product, on their Dynamite product, on their Collision product or Rampage product to do that, what they should do then is create a separate, you know, all the YouTube show, create a separate YouTube show that serves as, it's one of the reasons. Now, this is one thing that they'll do well. Leading up to a pay-per-view, they'll have their road to, you know, whatever. So the Road to Revolution, which will come on the night before, and it'll tell the stories of these matches. Why not do that on a regular basis to tell the stories of these characters, of these new people that we're getting invested in, of people that are coming? It's a recap show, basically.
Right.
WWE, you know, people were mad about shows like Main Event and things like that, but they were all recap shows for people who couldn't watch the whole thing so that you can jump back in at a moment's notice.
But this is the thing. This is the thing with really great storytelling and having a really great producing team. And I know the wrestling sphere is a little bit different, but it's still incorporating, especially how WWE is doing it, a lot of the entertainment movie aspect to it. A really great show or TV show or even documentary, they'll give you all the information, but they tell the story so well that you now go and look up more information.
Right.
Because that's the whole thing. The initial story, they need to hook you in order now for you to go and look up more. Like, oh, I wonder where this person's from. Like, I wonder what they did this or all this other stuff. That's the upper echelon of really great storytelling, even in a movie or whatever. Like, oh, if you watch a certain movie and they're talking about a certain thing, like, O'Shea Jackson was talking about Cocaine Bear. Like, I'm now watching the movie because I did get to watch the movie a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, wait, this really happened? Now I'm wanting to know, like, okay, well, who was really there? What's the story? What aspects of the story is it based off of? That's really great storytelling. And unfortunately, it's kind of a catch-22 because you have such a huge roster. You can't do that with every wrestler, but picking the certain wrestlers to do that, and then it's kind of, and it's a hard job to do. There's no days off for wrestling. So I believe that we have to give wrestling a little bit of a pass on certain things, because it's like you're trying to tell me that we expect these promotions week in and week out every year to produce high quality content that takes some movies 5 years to do. Like, it just, there has to be a balance on it. But, going back to everything, and I think tying it up, unless you have something else to say, honey, is just that the fake TK should have just said, look, pull up. I got you. Just tell me when. If you have that type of money, like, boom, there it is. Mm-hmm. So, what are you saying, Cousin Ron? For 120 seconds, a bear was the most dangerous animal on the Yo, if y'all haven't seen Cocaine Bear,
haven't.
Oh my God. It's like, it's a combination of okay. It's kind of like there's some depth and there's humor, and it's O'Shea Jackson was in it, and it was unbelievable at certain parts, and it's just like, wait, did this really happen? And there's a lot of different
true story. Yeah,
it's a true story. So yeah, it's just, there are a lot of amazing things that are happening.
How you felt about Cocaine Bear was how I felt about The Conjuring, because The Conjuring was based on true. The first one, it was based on a couple, like, they really existed, that used to help conjure spirit or something.
Anything that sounds scary, I'm not about it. Says Amazing Khan wouldn't invite a guy to his place that has been in a movie with the
with the word cocaine.
Wow.
You're trying to look.
It's two. That's two.
That one was earned.
Yikes.
MDB 999, the fake TKA got the bank account, but he doesn't have the cojones to do something like that. I mean, I think he does. I think sometimes the X fingers, I think, you know, he has the ability to say whatever he wants. He does like very emotional tweets, which is great at sometimes. And then also sometimes it can, you know, bite you. And then also he has the luxury of he owns the whole company. So he can do these tweets and then put his phone down and say, I'm not. Because O'Shea actually said that too in the interview. He actually enjoys ribbing people. So like who, like you really think that you're, and ironically, now that I'm saying that, the same person that I talked to Professor Honey about the other day said the same thing. It's just like, it is what it is. Like you can literally just turn your phone off and still continue with your job and all the things. So what we got next? Because it looks like Seti is ready to go back to Parkerville.
Well, he's part of Parkerville. I don't know if he has residency in Mandyville, but somebody does. Because Mandy Rose was recently on a podcast, and on this podcast, she announced that, you know, she'd been working with this whole fan time thing. And apparently, one person spent $55,000 on Mandy Rose.
It's meat.
Yeah. So she literally said, what does he do for a living that he's able to spend this kind of money on one person? And it wasn't even over a long period. So it was wild, but she said, thank you. Now, I think it's also interesting that she has since left Fan Time and gone on to seemingly greener pastures as she's opened up an OnlyFans account. Do whatever you want with that information. But I don't think that we'll see Mandy Rose in a wrestling ring anytime soon if one fan is willing to spend $55,000 on her.
I don't know, Cousin Ron. I wouldn't say she's never coming back.
I wouldn't say never.
Yeah, I feel like
not anytime soon.
Just not anytime soon. I feel like OnlyFans is gonna be it's gonna become part of the norm. Like I know like yoga instructors who have OnlyFans and they don't, according to them, they don't do like stuff naked. They just I don't know. They do yoga.
They do things, you know. They do things.
So I wouldn't say wouldn't. I think for the right price, or if she has the itch to go back to wrestling.
I would love to see her back. That's for sure. I loved Toxic Attraction. I don't know why they completely like flopped that era. I felt like it was way too soon. I feel like they could have gone on to have like their own version of an Undisputed Era, but for the Toxic Attraction fans, like Mandy, I mean, if you got it, you got. If you got the money, then you got it. But it's Mandy Rose. It's Mandy Rose. Okay, she's the fire in the fire and desire. The whole era, like what you saw, you completely see that coming. Like she's the hottest thing. With my husband's car is named Mandy Rose. We call her Mandy Rose because she's red, like a Toxic Attraction looking red. We call her Mandy Rose. I gave her that name. I love Mandy Rose, so I'm an advocate. Get your money, girl.
This is for MBD 999. I'm starting a website for nail technicians and women who can fight. It's called Nails Only.
Lord.
There it is. We got anything else? Oh yeah. Also, before we say if we do have anything else, we have a couple of interviews dropping. One of the interviews that's dropping that Professor is about a part of. Darius Lockhart from Ashe Wrestling. A really great conversation with him that dropped yesterday, and we'll be dropping some clips and stuff like that. Really interesting dude. And I don't know if he's before his time, or I don't want this to get conflated, or he missed his time, or it's just he's just a dope individual. And I really hope that Ashe gets to the point that he wants it to get to. And you have to check out the interview to see what I mean. But like really, like it's for the culture was like if they were put like for the culture for wrestling, like he would be that dude. So really, you should check out. And
Shout out.
Professor, you're going to be a part of it this weekend.
Yes. I will be a part of Ashe Wrestling this coming Saturday night in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's going to be crazy. I believe this is the main event. Let me not get it wrong, but it's the world title as Suge D defends against Caprice Coleman. It's going to be crazy. Darius Carter versus Darius Lockhart. Lots of incredible appearances. Ron Simmons will be in the house. Teddy Long will be in the house. So you'll want to get to Charlotte. If you cannot get to Charlotte, you can watch the live stream. You can get it right now at AsheWrestling.com. Again, that's Saturday night. It starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So you will have already watched the Elimination Chamber earlier that day. You can continue to get your wrestling fix with Ashe Wrestling. Wow. Jake,
Well, it's our
read it for the
technically I gave it.
Yeah.
Let me audio.
JD says he names his car Mandy Rose. What does Honey name her car? Does she drive a Montez Ford?
Lord have mercy.
How long did it take you to think of that, JD?
Oh, that doesn't deserve a whomp. That was clever. That was really good, actually.
Oh man.
As far as I know, I don't know if you can answer this. Because I did ask Darius about this. Who is going to be wrestling the King Bees? They hadn't announced it yet.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure who. I do know that there are several women that will be there, and I don't know if they will come together as part of the tag team. But it has not been announced yet who is taking on the King Bees, so I'm not sure. But I am looking forward to that. If you guys missed the first show, Charity King was on the first show taking on Kiera Hogan in what was a fantastic match. So, yeah, you guys definitely go back, check out the first show. And then join us for the second show this Saturday.
Wow. JD saying, thanks, said you're my EST. Look, we can't, I don't see you wearing a shirt, JD. So, I guess so, but you have to put your money where your mouth is. Just saying. Maybe he'll make you a resident of Parkerville once you do. I'm just. Oh, there it is. Well, we got anything? It feels like a Friday. We got anything else?
It does feel like a Friday. Well, I guess we can
watch SmackDown.
Well, yeah. You could. You're not going to do a Dynamite watch along.
No.
Well, we'll end it on this note, which I think is also very, very interesting. For all of the conversation that's been going on about The Rock, some might forget why he's one of the biggest stars in the world, as him and his $7 Productions company. They're working on and they've announced a new Ric Flair biopic. That is on the way. The Rock will be joining his ex-wife, Danny Garcia, Hiram Garcia, and several others to produce this. And it's the same crew that actually produced the Fighting With My Family movie, which was based on the life of the artist formerly known as Paige. So we don't know who's going to be starring in this movie yet. We don't have any of that information, but I do think it's going to be interesting to see how The Rock and his team are working on this new biopic for Ric Flair. I can only imagine the stories that could be told for this one, and I'm not sure how they're going to approach it, but it should be really interesting.
Yeah, there's so many. If you saw that interview that he did with on Club Shay Shay, even just talking about from his childhood up until wrestling is a whole story in itself. So it'd be interesting how they do it. Like, for instance, if you watch the Bob Marley movie that just came out, it was only One Love is only, it did tidbits from his childhood, but it was literally like that year or 2 year period that they really kind of talked about. So, and Ric Flair has so many stories. Like,
to that
the
point,
documentary. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the documentaries alone about Ric Flair are good. So imagine the biopic. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna say to that point, if they do things the way they did it at the Bob Marley movie, I think that would make sense to be able to at least say at the start, here's where we're starting. Here's where we're picking up this story. Because I
Right.
think the people who are, and this is going to be interesting too, whenever this movie comes out, you've got to imagine there's going to be a mixture of hardcore Ric Flair fans that are going to go watch this and people who have just, seen Ric Flair in culture that are interested in knowing more about the story. And you'll have to wonder, who will this movie be catered to? Will it be catered
Mhm.
to the hardcore fans who want to learn more information, or will it be catered to the casual fan who is just learning about them? So I think it'll be interesting to see.
JD has a good question. Who would you cast as Ric Flair? And MBB999 said Bradley Cooper.
Not Bradley Cooper.
Oh, I think you might. This is where because do you pick somebody who has a name, or do you pick somebody who has a wrestling name, or do you pick somebody who is just good for is good for the role, like a good actor who's also athletic, etc.
I think you do your best to try to find all three if you can. If not, at least a couple elements more than the other. Yeah.
For me, it kind of reminds me of how they cast Young Rock. Like, they didn't use any big stars for Young Rock, but who they grabbed, all the people that they got so greatly resembled the actual people that you were able to forget the actor and focus on the story. So I think they have the opportunity to do that in this case. They don't want it now. I saw the clips. I haven't seen the full movie yet, but apparently they don't want to do what they did with the Iron Claw movie in terms of how they cast Ric Flair there, because that wasn't the way to go. So I hope they'll really try to find somebody who closely resembles Flair in his mannerisms, in his look, what he looked like in that day, so that we don't have to suspend reality too much to believe that that's Ric Flair.
Definitely like a method actor at best. Somebody who gets into the role. Needs to be somebody like really, really serious, if anything. Like whether they're somebody with a name or somebody up and coming. I don't know. It's pretty good question.
Anything to add there, Seti said, or you? Last thing I want to touch on, shout out to, she's a friend of the show, Mackenzie Mitchell. So she's going to be at a Reality of Wrestling. She's going to be commentating there. So shout out to that. Reality Wrestling, I mean, they obviously, Booker T School, they've been doing a lot. But I feel like there's different levels to this, meaning that it's like you have WWE, you have NXT, you have the college to NXT pipeline, and then you have Reality of Wrestling. Like, it feels like if you want a closer chance at graduating faster, that's where you go. I don't know for sure, but I mean, it's a great place to partner with. So, shout out to that, and definitely check out that promotion as well. Special nobody saying it's 420. Okay. Oh, gotcha.
She said,
All
okay.
Right.
Oh,
hooray!
the time. Oh,
hooray! Hooray for that! Hooray for that! With that being said, anything else you gotta talk about, Professor? Honey, Steady said.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, as Sed is looking off into Parkerville, where can everybody find you, Sed?
Onlyfans.com/Vice City Mayor. Apparently, I'm doing something wrong. None of these sugar mamas paying $55K, so I gotta step my game up. Also on the Twitter machine at says CDD_SAYS. I write for dailyddt.com. Instagram said is the answer. Also, what am I missing? I'm on this platform, Women's Wrestling Talk. There will be an NXT show at some point. But if you don't get it soon, just know it's not my fault.
The FTR match. I saw accusations. These are not accusations. This is false accusations. And the FTR match.
I love that. Hilarious.
That's great.
MBB999 said got his sugar mama off the she can't make an appearance on the show because Bosa, the information offer, because don't say anything around Bosa because Bosa will remember and pull the receipts. That is getting more nervous as the premiere date approaches for NXT after show. All right. Well, honey, where can everybody find you?
Everybody can find me here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Oh my goodness, what's that? Oh, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays here with WWT. Also, after WWT on Fridays, I'm doing SmackDown Watch Along. There will be another this week. Anybody want to come on in and say hello? Please do. I also have prediction segment coming out with my friends over at Sports Mark Analyst, so make sure you follow them as well. And I started a new weekly series on Mondays, and I'm doing one for Fridays as well called Honey Pot Predictions, where I'll be predicting all the stuff for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. And you can follow me on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Wrestling W Honey. Everywhere else is Wrestling with Honey.
Out on bail, first out of jail, California dreaming. As soon as I step on the scene, I'm hearing hoochie screaming, feeding for money and alcohol.
Oh yeah, man.
Where can everybody find you?
You can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the social spaces. You can check out my commentary work with Southern Honor Wrestling and IWE. You can check that out on IWTV. You can check out my work with All Caribbean Wrestling and The Nightmare Factory on YouTube as well. Of course, I will be with Ashe Wrestling this Saturday, as we mentioned. And you can check out some cool previews that we're doing with Ashe Wrestling actually right now on their social spaces as well. So check that out at Ashe Wrestling. Also, there's a trailer floating around for Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. I'll make sure you guys see that, but I'm really excited to be connected with them. And of course, you can check me out here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and on all the spaces and places that I am. So check it out at Bonnerfied.
MDB triple dot. Look. I mean, I'm giving you this not because you deserve it, but it's funny. But yeah, Luther King. I mean,
I'm dead. I'm done. I'm so done.
Man,
that's good.
Wow. So like I said, definitely go and check out our interview with Darius Lockhart. Really great interview. We have some interviews with some wild superheroes dropping as well, so be on the lookout for that. Yeah, we got a lot of interviews this week. It's been quite busy, y'all. So oh damn, I just remembered. Okay, we might have a good interview happening across the pond, but now I just realized I should probably be working on. Anywho, yeah, you can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. Appreciate y'all.
I'm the tribal chief around here. Yeah, you see me, the tribal chief. That's right.
We acknowledge you, my tribal chief.
I wonder if, like, with Roman, like, he just be like at the Ralphs with his kids, and people just come up and just like bow, like we acknowledge. I wonder if that's life now, like he's, or somebody randomly throws like some romaine lettuce at his head because they're not, because they don't
not romaine lettuce. That's funny.
Can you imagine like one like old lady, because she's like one of my coworkers, her mother-in-law is like a super, like this lady is in a wheelchair, super wrestling fan. I can imagine her like just not feeling it and just throwing some like a head of lettuce at Roman Reigns' head.
Okay, can somebody with a computer womp TK for the romaine lettuce reference? I would do it myself, but that deserves to be womped.
That's what happens when you're in the streets. Eddie said, like you can't do everything. I'm sorry.
That is wompable.
He was special.
It's here for that,
man.
I would pick like these are the segments that I would love to like. If they had like, I know they have WWE Digital, but but these are like the segments that I would love to like randomly see, like an old lady just like, you know, just having a conversation with Roman, telling him how like this is not how you do your family, like just having like a sit that, you know, back in my day, like
yeah.
I would bend you up, like it's all that stuff. Anywho, I'm going off on a tangent. I apologize. You can follow me everywhere at TK Trinidad. Make sure you check out Women's Wrestling Talk on all social media platforms. We have a couple days left in Black History Month, so we're dropping out quite a few highlights that you should check out. Also, shout out to Mission Pro Wrestling. They had Kia Dream, and oh my gosh, I think it's Maya's World. They're the tag team champions. So shout out to them. So yeah, we have a lot of folks that are going to be dropping for Black History Month. A lot of articles, like I said, a lot of interviews. March is going to be super, super busy, and you know we're sliding on into. I don't know if we're going to have a post show. I think that will definitely be up to Honey to lead, because she's the one who doesn't sleep. So we'll see how if there is a post show. So keep it locked on our social media for that. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao, y'all.
Hello, guys. This is La Mera Mera Thunder Rosa, and I'm here to tell you that you're watching Women Wrestling Talk.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1